I would agree with my good friend Senator Cruz if he were right, but he is not.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and heated debate that recently took place in the Senate. The topic? An amendment about who pays attorney's fees when a lawsuit goes south. Sounds dry? Trust me, it's anything but. This debate has some serious implications for big tech, local journalists, and all of us who care about fairness in the legal system. So, let's break it down and see where the lines were drawn. Alright, so the conversation kicks off with a question about an amendment that could change the way attorneys' fees are handled in certain cases. Basically, if this amendment passes, and one party in a lawsuit acts in bad faith, a judge could make them pay the other side's attorney's fees. Now, what exactly is bad faith? It's typically something the judge decides on a case-by-case basis. This idea is sometimes called loser pays, but this time, it's got a twist. Senator Kennedy, known for opposing the loser pays concept, makes an exception here. He argues that in cases involving big tech and other well-resourced entities, it's not just about protecting the little guy. Both sides have the resources to compensate the other if things go wrong. So, Kennedy decides to support this amendment, despite it being against his usual stance. It's all about ensuring fairness when both parties can afford to play the game. On the flip side, Senator Cruz is not on board with this amendment. He believes it unfairly benefits the big guys like tech giants, while potentially crushing smaller entities such as local journalists. Cruz argues that this could lead to small newspapers or journalists being hit with massive legal fees if they lose a case against a giant like Google. He doesn't see the amendment as a safeguard against bad faith litigation, but rather as a dangerous precedent.
In the instance of lawyers' fees and losers' pay, they fairly systematically benefit the big guy and hurt the little guy. In this instance, we've identified the big guys and little guys. The big guys are the big tech behemoths, and the little guys are the local journalists that everyone here is giving speeches about how we want to help. I think telling local journalists, if you have any lawsuit under the bill, you can be stuck for the millions of dollars of lawyers' fees for Google. It's a good way to bankrupt a bunch of local newspapers or ensure they never bring litigation under the suit. And as I read it, at least looking at the amendment, I don't see anything about bad faith litigation. I see it just simply Section 7 is a cause of action for litigating on this.
The debate heats up as Cruz clarifies that the amendment isn't strictly about bad faith lawsuits. Even if a party acts in good faith but loses, they could still end up paying the other side's legal fees. This could deter smaller entities from even trying to challenge big tech. Kennedy responds by saying judges are there to weed out frivolous cases and ensure fairness, suggesting the system would work as intended.
I would agree with my good friend Senator Cruz if he were right, but he is not. It's a very rare circumstance, I know, but this door swings both ways, and I think the amendment's pretty clear that a litigant, whether it's social media or a broadcaster or a newspaper publisher, has to proceed in good faith. And that standard applies to both sides. And I think the senator, my friend Senator Cruz, is a very able litigator, and I think he understands that it's a level playing field. If you want to file a frivolous lawsuit, that's okay, but under this legislation, you're going to have to pay the other side's attorney's fees. And it doesn't just favor big tech. I would never do that. It favors the smaller entity as well.
Meanwhile, other senators like Blumenthal weigh in, supporting the amendment as an exception to the rule, emphasizing that existing laws already discourage baseless lawsuits. The discussion wraps up with a vote on the amendment. Despite some strong opposition, it passes. Kennedy's amendment wins the day, with a special note that Cruz voted no, and that's the breakdown of this intense Senate debate. It's a perfect example of how complex and impactful legislative changes can be, especially when it involves balancing power between big tech and smaller entities. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on more political and legal news, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.